Oh, right, yeah, the next part of this doc. Let's go.
A lot of people are wondering about the future of America. Many students of Bible prophecy are beginning to reconsider the possible identity of the woman who rides the beast of a one world government system. Revelation 17:1 talks about the punishment of a great prostitute who sits on many waters. Revelation 17:15 explains the imagery of the waters to mean many peoples, multitudes, nations, and languages. In Revelation 17:18, the woman or prostitute is clearly defined as the great city that rules over the kings of the earth. So far, the Whore of Babylon is a dominant multicultural city. New York is a dominant multicultural city. New York is also home to the United Nations, the premier organization of world government. Revelation 18:11-13 lists the many items you can get from this city. They say you
Hold on, let's go back. Read that. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more, the merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones, and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all the thin wood and all manner vessels of ivory and all manner vessels of most precious wood and of brass and iron and marble and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men.
from this city. They say you can get whatever you want in New York. Look at the last two items in this list, which are slaves or the bodies and souls of men. This verse is amazingly accurate. The United States was allowed to become the world's biggest debtor nation when it became bankrupt in 1933, eventually along with all other nations, because your birth certificate is a bond. You are pledged as collateral on the debt of your nation. You are traded as a human resource on the stock exchanges of the world, especially in New York, the home to the world's largest stock exchange. At the entrance to New York stands the prostitute who sits on many waters, holding a golden cup in her hand. The prostitute has 7 heads, or 7 rays of initiation, radiating from her crown. The prostitute is none other than Queen Semiramis, the ancient queen of Babylon. At the base of the Statue of Liberty is a plaque. It states that the statue is a gift from the Freemasons of France to the Freemasons of America. Revelation 18:15 talks about the merchants of the world who gained their wealth from her, standing amazed at her destruction. Revelation 18:17 describes the woman being consumed by fire in 1 hour.
When 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning.
Whether or not the biblical description of Babylon applies to New York today or Iraq tomorrow is a moot point. The point is that because New York fits the Babylonian archetype, or sign of things to come, we should expect that New York should suffer the same fate as Babylon. If my interpretation of Babylon and its destruction is correct, then there ought to be signs of secret societies in America preparing for its destruction. Perhaps the greatest sign of America's pending destruction is on the back of the US $1 bill. You have been told that the bird on the right is an eagle. That's not what Manly P. Hall viewed it as. He knew that it was a phoenix, the ancient mythological bird of fiery rebirth. The phoenix is used to describe how old systems of power are deliberately destroyed to produce new systems of power. The system of power that is being built now is described on the left side on the back of the US $1 bill. You have been told that the Latin phrase Novus Ordo Seclorum means a new order of the ages. If you understood what the Roman poet Virgil meant when he wrote what this phrase is based on, you would know that it means the same thing as Daniel chapter 2, verse 43. For the meaning of that, you will have to wait until volume 3. For now, it means God hath favored our undertakings, new order secular, or new world order. The occult purpose of America is to usher in the new world order on the back of what appears to be a trusted democracy. This purpose is hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, because that's the only thing I can think of with like our country. What is the goal of our leaders? With they're clearly anti the people, anti the will of the people, and I think the only thing I can think of is that what you just said there is to collapse the system. You can't start a new regime unless you destroy the old one, and I think that is just what it is.
The New World Order is coordinated on a spiritual level by Lucifer, who is Satan disguised as an angel of light. Once you understand that, then everything makes sense. Lenin's associate, Mikhail Bakunin, was under a satanic influence. A satanic theme saturated the poetry of Karl Marx. Perhaps the best quote about the
Yeah, what was I listening to the other day? And they were saying about it was about Jews, Karl Marx and the Jews, and what to do with the Jewish problem. And Karl Marx basically said, yeah, get rid of them.
Luciferian agenda comes from Albert Pike's Morals and Dogma. Lucifer, the light bearer, strange and mysterious name given to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, the son of the morning. Is it he who bears the light,
Lucifer,
and with its splendors
son of the
intolerable,
morning.
blinds feeble, sensual, or selfish souls? Doubt it not. The devil is very real. His main disguise is well described. This is not just because Bible thumpers say so, but because anti-Christians say so.
I'm a Christian, sir.
I'm pure and virtuous and wholesome and innocent. How can you say anything bad about me?
Sir, you need to be born again.
I am born again.
Now, did you just say that you are Lucifer?
I am Lucifer.
Okay, define Lucifer for me.
Pure, virtuous, wholesome, innocent individual that's out to help people.
Lucifer is?
Yeah.
Say that again. Lucifer is a pure, holy,
Virtuous.
virtuous. Now, is he the Lucifer that God created?
That's the same one.
Oh, man, this is great. I'm going to put this on the internet.
Oh,
Amen.
God bless you,
Amen.
brother.
Because that's exactly what the Shriners and Masons teach, is that Lucifer is light.
No.
Well, before he fell, he was God's favorite angel, Lucifer. I'm pretty sure it says that. He was God's favorite. He was, yeah. And what they fell out over was the idea that God was going to put himself on earth as Jesus, apparently. And that they said, and also that some of the angels was upset that God said man outranks angels. And there's other things why why the angels that were fallen angels resented humans, because we die, which means that we have like things like the beauty of nature and things are so much more impressive and wonderful to us than they are to them. But yeah, also God favors us over the angels. But yeah, another one is to make God what Lucifer wasn't happy about was the plan that God would lower himself to put himself in human form on earth. And that was seen to be an abomination. Although I kind of, because the Muslims say that too, the Muslims don't have that. There is no connection between Muslims and Allah. They go through angels to talk to. There's like middlemen between them and Allah, and Allah wouldn't lower himself to talk to you. But that's the whole thing of the devil. Why Lucifer fell out with God was that he was going to do it. And it's kind of a point. Why would you, if you was God, do that? But until you read the Old Testament and you see all these people, humans, that God selected, and all of them, like you said, we all fall short of the glory of God. There's no perfect prophet in the Bible. None of them. David's mad. Well, not mad, but he's killing everybody. Do you know what I mean? And he has to. He has to fight to defend his people. But still, there's no character like Jesus until Jesus. There is no Jesus until Jesus. And I think that if you was God and you're selecting these people over and over again, it's like people say with Gandhi today. Oh, Gandhi's such a great guy. Well, he married a underage girl. True. And this is the thing. It doesn't matter how good a human is. They're not perfect. Jesus is perfect. Right. And I think if you read the Old Testament and you see how all these prophets and people, humans that God picked to be his guy on earth, they all fall short. And I think God would have just sat there over time and thought, they're not getting it. I'm going to have to do it. And then that's probably where Lucifer was like, that's an abomination. But you can't tell God that. God does what he wants.
What
You're
about those
confirming it.
hospitals?
You know what, sir? Jesus said, many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not do these good deeds in your name? And you'll say, away from me, you workers of iniquity. I never knew you.
It's similar as well. Lucifer to God, Judas to Jesus. Judas was like Jesus's closest, or one of his closest followers, disciples, and it was him that betrayed him in the end, and he knew he was going to betray him. It's a similar thing that played out on earth as what played out in the heavens when the war kicked off in the heavens.
Jesus said it?
In Matthew chapter 5.
Mercy.
No.
That's hard to believe.
So you're a Christian and you don't know that. Actually,
No, I really am.
Many people around the world today are particularly concerned with Israel. The Bible said 2,600 years ago in Ezekiel 37 that before the third and final Great War, Jews from around the world will begin to be gathered back to Israel, even in unbelief. Israel has offered cash and land to Iranian Jews to move to Israel. Iranian Jews have refused this offer, saying that they preferred life in Iran. This is one of the many examples which prove that when governments...
Here's the thing with Iran and the people of Iran. They aren't Muslim. They are a conquered people. Same as Palestine, the Palestinians. Palestinian people, or what people say is the Palestinian people, are more genetically similar to Jews. They are Jews that got conquered, basically. But I've seen a thing because I was watching it. So many, like I was watching people having come into Christ moments that either they were a lot of Muslims I've watched, but yeah, in Iran, it seems to be a thing happening at the moment in Iran of Muslims seeing Jesus and turning to Christ. And I see something that said that Iran, the people of Iran are becoming Christian. And they kind of don't agree with the government that they have. I mean, there's probably some people that do, but overall they don't. And it was on a podcast. He said some people were saying that Iran is about to have a Christian revolution, and the Christians are going to take over the country. And the guy that was interviewing, he's like, "Well, I can say I probably think you're right by that. Yeah, but they are actually oppressed by their government in Iran. Like when they say, "Oh no, we're fine here," it's a bit like, yeah, being held hostage by. So yeah, no, we're great, we're fine, but actually underneath growing. And the thing is as well, for Muslims to turn to Christ, that you get killed for that in Islam. You'll get killed for that. You can't change. It's literally in the Quran. Not even in a hadith. Muhammad says in the Quran, if anybody changes his religion, they should be killed. And the 7 major schools of Islam teach that. So for a Muslim to turn to Christianity is it's not like, say, me being an atheist and a family that has nothing really, don't care either way, really. They're not religious, don't have a horse in the race. It's easy for me to just say, oh yeah, I'm a Christian. But for these Muslims and that, and especially in Iran, and you see a lot of the Iranian ones that they have to flee the country once they decide to become Christian. But they are so convicted by it that they will face death from their own family members. I even watched one ex-Muslim who's wrote a book exposing Muslim and the Muslim belief in Islam. And he says, they said, how does your family? He's like, my family don't know. My family don't know I'm not Muslim. He's like, because if they did, they'd kill me. He's like, 100% my brother would kill me. Like, my dad would kill me. My mum would disown me if they knew. And he's like, but you've got these books out. And he's like, yeah, well, they're under a different name. They don't know that he's this guy exposing Islam from within kind of thing. But he says, yeah, he's like, 100%. There is no doubt in my mind that if they knew who I was and what I believed, they'd kill me.
World try to force Bible prophecy, it doesn't work. The Bible promises that there will be several great wars over Israel in the future. You can read about them in Ezekiel 38 and 39 and Revelation 19. God is not in the habit of breaking his promises to Israel. God is also not in the habit of rewriting his promises to Israel or any of his prophecies. Christians understand this. Over 1 billion Muslims do not. Today, Israel is a paradox. America and Christianity are loyal to Israel, but Israel isn't loyal to America and to Christianity. Evidence shows that Israel assisted the United States in the 9/11 attacks on itself so that America would be justified in retribution against Israel's enemies.
And all of a sudden, down there, I see this van parked. And I see 3 guys on top of the van. And I could see that they were like happy. You know, they didn't look shocked to me.
I just happened to see the van and, hollered over to my lieutenant. I think that could be the van. We checked it out and it was. We were all on edge, obviously, so I really wasn't looking to make friends with these people, and neither were the officers that I were with. Once we started talking to them, they were pretty much like, hey, we're not against you, we're with you.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad. The fact of the matter is, we are coming from a country that experiences terror daily. Our purpose was to document the event.
Most directory assistance calls and virtually all call records and billing in the U.S. are done for the phone companies by Amdocs Limited, an Israeli-based private telecommunications company. Amdocs has contracts with the 25 biggest phone companies in America and more worldwide. Since September 11th, more than 60 Israelis have been arrested or detained, either under the new Patriot anti-terrorism law or for immigration violations. A handful of active Israeli military were among those detained, according to investigators, who say some of the detainees also failed polygraph questions when asked about alleged surveillance activities against and in the United States.
Building is going to collapse. Nothing information. Building is going to collapse. Nothing information.
Investigators suspect that the Israelis may have gathered intelligence about the attacks in advance and not shared it. A highly placed investigator said there are, quote, tie-ins. But when asked for details, he flatly refused to describe them, saying, quote, evidence linking these Israelis to 911 is classified. I cannot tell you about evidence that has been gathered. It's classified information.
Some mainline TV preachers are bending over backwards trying to justify Israel's every move to the point where their teachings are anti-biblical.
In defense of Israel will shake Christian theology. It scripturally proves that the Jewish people as a whole did not reject Jesus as Messiah. It will also prove that Jesus did not come to earth to be the Messiah. It will prove that there was a Calvary conspiracy between Rome, the high priest, and Herod to execute Jesus as an insurrectionist too dangerous to live. Since Jesus refused by word and deed to claim to be the Messiah, how can the Jews be blamed for rejecting what was never offered? Read it in this shocking expose in defense of Israel.
The modern recreation of Israel
Hold
is
on.
causing something...
Hold on. Is he saying that Jesus refused to be the... No, he didn't.
The priest and Herod to execute Jesus as an insurrectionist too dangerous to live. Since Jesus refused by word and deed to claim to be the Messiah, how can the Jews be blamed for rejecting what was...
No, he didn't. I know Jews don't believe in Jesus. Some do. The Messianic Jews do. And that's the thing. You don't have to become a Christian. Like a Christian doesn't have to become a Jew to when you follow Christ. Vice versa. Jesus doesn't say anything about the Jews not being Jewish no more and becoming Christian. But Jesus definitely does say that he says he's the Son of Man. He says, I am. Like, Jesus definitely, and that is what he got killed for. Like, this is the thing as well, is that something I saw a Jewish person talk about, is like, Jews don't actually read scripture. And if they did, they'd see that Jesus is their Messiah. He's like, but most Jews don't read the Old Testament, like, or the New Testament. They've never read it. It's like they have their prayer books and they have something else he says, but yeah, they don't read it. And he's like, but if you read it, if you read the Old Testament, you see where Jesus is the Messiah. Jesus is God made flesh. And he says it. And he even clarifies, because people say as well, he separates himself. Jesus separates himself from the Father. Like it when he says, he lays out what's going to happen before he dies, and then says, but the time it will happen is not for you to know, nor the Son, only the Father. So people say, well, why, if Jesus is God, why is he distancing? He actually covers that. Jesus actually covers that. The reason he separates himself from God is to justify the acts he's doing. Like, because he said, if I come back and say I'm God, you're going to think I'm crazy. But he's saying he's separating himself to justify his actions. So saying it's not me, it's the Father working through me, but he is the Father. He says he's the Father. He says he's the Son of Man. He's the thing he's the person Daniel sees sat at the right hand of God.
Never offered. Read it in this shocking expose in defense of Israel.
The modern recreation of Israel is causing something to happen that the political Zionists did not intend. Just as the Bible said would happen, many Israelis are beginning to realize that Jesus is the Messiah.
היום חיים כבר בינינו כ-15,000 יהודים משיחיים מאמינים בישוע, מתפללים אליו אבל גם מלים את בניהם, מנשקים את המזוזה ומתגייסים לצה"ל במוטיבציה מלאה. שלמה רז פגש בהם וחזר קצת מבולבל.
אבל כל זה לא משכנע כמובן חוגים חרדים שנלחמים בהם מלחמת חורמה.
אנחנו מוסרים ילדים קטנים לנצרות, נותנים להם בגדים יפים ולחם ואוכל, ואחרי זה אומרים להם בואו תשתחוו ליושר, הרב זאר.
זוהי הפגנה שארגנו חסידי גור בערד נגד הקהילה המקומית.
הנה רבקה פנאי באה ממשפחה חרדית, חטפו אותה, עשו ממנה נוצריה. הם חוטפים ילדים ומטפילים אותם לנצרות, תתרחקו מהם.
כשהאמונה יוקדת, אין מה שיעצור את התופעה.
בשנים האחרונות יש גידול משמעותי במספר הקהילות של היהודים המשיחיים. מדברים לפחות על 15 קהילות רק בירושלים. אפילו באזור הזה, גבול השכונות החרדיות, פועלות כמה קהילות של יהודים משיחיים.
הקהילה הזאת, שמן ששון שמה, פועלת במרכז ירושלים. בניגוד לכל הקהילות האחרות שפנינו עליהן, היא הסכימה להיחשף למצלמות. הקהילה הזאת צמחה בשנתיים מ-60 מאמינים לכ-200. רבים מהמצטרפים החדשים הם צעירים, ילידי הארץ, חלקם מבתים מסורתיים. התפילה היא יסוד מרכזי אצל המשיחיים. כל אחד מתפלל מתי שבא לו ואיך שבא לו. אין נוסח תפילות מחייב. רוצים שנדע שהאמונה היא שקושרת אותם לארץ הזאת, שאין סתירה על פי אמונתם בין הברית החדשה לבין התנ"ך, להפך, שאפשר להתפלל לישו, ישוע בלשונם, ובמקביל לקבל את השבת כמו שמקבלים אותה במיליוני בתים יהודים ברחבי העולם.
Yeah, I literally watched this Jewish guy say his daughter was the one that said it to him. And it's like I say, in Islam, it's a killable offense. In the Jewish religion, you'll likely kill your parents. Like, they'll probably die of heartbreak if you come out and say Jesus is the Jewish Messiah. Because, yeah, it's, they don't believe it. Like, it's, but the thing is, and like he said, my daughter said to me, I want to tell you this. Well, basically, she told me that she believes Jesus is the Messiah, and he's like, and I couldn't believe it. It was as if someone just stabbed me in the heart, and he's like, I just couldn't. I'm like, how can you do that? How could you betray us like that? Like, he said, and then she came to stay. He said, and before she went back to college, he's like, she said to me, look, can you read the scriptures? And if you'll either see what I see or you won't. So you can either confirm what I'm saying or you can refute what I'm saying. And he's like, I thought, okay. He's like, my daughter's basically saying, prove me wrong then. And he's like, and I thought, all right, I will, I'm going to. He's like, so I sat down and started reading the New Testament first, and I'm flicking through these things. And basically, as he's reading through the Bible, he's like Jesus says things like, Jesus is here first for the Jew, then for the Gentile. He said, and there's things like that in there. He said, but then he said, I went back to the Old Testament. And it really is, you have to listen to the Old Testament to understand Jesus and understand what he is and who he is. He said, but he went back and read Psalms. I think Psalms 22. Psalms 22, I think he said. He's like, I'm in the Jewish side of the Bible. I'm safe. Because he's like, because I'm listening to all this crazy stuff that's kind of making me doubt my own views and making me think Jesus is the Messiah. He's like, so I went back to the Old Testament. He's like, I'm in the Jewish part. I'm nice and safe in the Jewish part. Nothing can hurt me here. And he said, and then I read Psalm 22. And it basically, Psalm 22, it basically describes Jesus's crucifixion playing out. And from his perspective, him going through it, his mouth being dry. It's like, it, and you got to think this was wrote before Jesus come along, but perfectly explained what Jesus did. And he said, and then you see it with, like, all the old prophets talk of Jesus, basically, the Son of Man. And that's where he's different to everybody else in the Bible. They're the Son of God. He's the Son of Man. It's a different title. But yeah, it's a great thing. Yeah, look up Jewish guy converts. It's a great testimony. I think his name's Stan something. But yeah, he's like, in the end, he had to admit that his daughter was right all along and that Jesus is the Messiah. Jesus is God. Jesus is the God of Abraham. He is the God of Moses. He is the God of all of them. He's the God. It's like I see Ben Shapiro bring up about, also, Jesus isn't the only person in the Bible that comes back from the dead. Lazarus comes back from the dead. It's like, Lazarus comes back from the dead because Jesus brought him back from the dead. That's the story of Lazarus coming back. Jesus goes, I think Lazarus is like his cousin or something. and he's like a good man. So Jesus just goes, "We're going to see Lazarus, wake him up." And all the disciples think he means that Lazarus is asleep till they get there and see that he's dead. Jesus goes in the room alone with them, and then basically Lazarus wakes up. So when, like, that's a Jewish argument against Jesus, is that Jesus isn't the only person who come back from the dead. It's like, yeah, but Jesus brought Lazarus back from the dead. That's like, he's the only person with that power throughout the whole of the Bible. He's the only power that can give life back to somebody. Even in Lazarus's story, it's Jesus who does it. But yeah, enough Bible bashing. That's the reaction. So